Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I am Sly.
And I'm Spook.
And we're here tonight with a special edition of the Collingwood Rant. We are actually recording a preview before the Collingwood-Adelaide game. We're about 10 minutes before the first bounce. We'll be back at halftime to talk about what we've seen, and then we'll be back after the game to wrap it up and go on with our usual segment. So, Spook, going into the game, what are your thoughts?
Well, currently I think it's pissing down over there in Adelaide. Wet track, no changes to either sides. I think we talked a little bit about we thought Blair might come in for Coxie.
Yep.
Big men don't like the wet. So they've elected to go with him, which...
He'll probably drop 58 marks now with the sweat, and everyone will get back on his back. There's plenty of room there, and quarter him. I think it's actually interesting that after that amazing win against the might and power of the tremendous Carlton Football Club.
Yeah, they're flag favourites, aren't they?
Yeah, amazing football team, Carlton, at the moment. You can really see them going places. And
Shitsville's one place they could go to.
I think they founded Shitsville. It's amazing how many people are jumping on our bandwagon after that one win. And there was a win that had about a quarter and a half of football in it, and then the rest was just, I don't know, screwing around. Mark Robinson, our favourite journalist, has tipped Collingwood by 50 points in the Herald Sun.
Go Robbo.
Well done, Robbo. So there's a bit of goodwill toward Collingwood. Adelaide, probably still a premiership favourite. Spook, your thoughts? Your final thoughts?
I've tipped the Crows to win in a close one. I'm not straying from what I said in the last round. I think we'll probably give it a crack, but the weather's going to have a bit of a say in the outcome of this one, I think.
For me, it always depends on what Collingwood comes out. You know, is it going to be the bad Collingwood who's going to start slow, or is it going to be the good Collingwood who starts quickly and then drops off? I'm still tipping Adelaide, but I think traditionally we match up okay against Adelaide. In last years, I don't think there's been any blowouts, except for hang on, we're up for 50 points. Oh no, wait, that wasn't a blowout.
The first blowout.
Yeah. So we proved we can do it all in that game. But I'm still not confident that Collingwood can back up any good form with more good form. The one positive is if Buckley should be telling him you're not going to play again for 12 days, so don't leave anything behind. Put everything in. If you feel you can't run, keep running, because you've got a 12-day break. So anyway, that's our thoughts. We'll be back at halftime to look at what's going on, and we'll talk more about the match.
Quick to the bat poles.
See you then. Welcome back to the Collingwood Rant.
Go Woods!
Yeah, some happy ranters. Half-time, Collingwood 8-5, 53 to... Who are we playing? Some blue, red, yellow team.
From one of the interstates.
Yep, that may need to be edited later. But 3-20. So, thoughts about the first half?
Superb. I mean, that first quarter was just superb. Defence, fantastic. Midfield, fantastic. Forward line functioning well. I'm not sure what I'm watching, to be honest.
Again, he has a small forward line going on. He's had Stevenson down there. Stevenson's got 3 goals.
Yeah, he's been magnificent.
And I think I really liked in the first quarter. Phillips and Varco were really, really good. Varco had some pivotal touches. In the second quarter, those two were a little quieter, but other players stood up. So that's really good to see. They've kept the intensity up, but we were here last year.
That's the thing, and that'd be the worrying thing. Also, I imagine that's what Pike's going to use at half-time, and certainly I would hope that Buckley uses the same thing, as you just can't rest now.
Yep.
Because look what happened last year. I mean, that'll work for both sides. Hopefully, we just work it better. I mean, we're in the box seat at the moment.
Let me ask a question. Collingwood's game plan, what they're exhibiting, is it effort or is it a skill-based game plan?
Geez, up until the rain, you'd say it was skills were certainly exceptionally good.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't burning anything.
That was 70% efficiency.
Yeah, that was just incredible football to watch. And that's the thing, what we've talked about in the past, it's about whether consistently they're going to be able to keep this up for 4 quarters. A little bit off, then the weather was going to be a factor in that second quarter, but, there's another half a footy to go.
So the one thing, though, I mean, last few years, you can have dips in consistency because you have players like Maynard and Grundy, and you have guys who played like Broomhead and Ramsey, who been less than 50 games. So you're going to get some consistency in them. Maynard and and Grundy there. I mean, Grundy's been amazing. They're like past 50 games now, or Maynard's approaching it. So you'd hope they have played enough, they've got enough experience that their consistency is actually going to remain at that level. You know, a few other guys like Langdon, I think he's approaching 50. He's been, you know, relatively good also. He got caught once in defence, but I actually think, you know, he's trying to create something. So I don't mind that. You know, he's trying to make something rather than just give a panic disposal off to somebody and sell them into trouble. So I'm hoping, like, because you got a bit more experience in this team now, or the players have got a bit more running, you know, experience in their legs and all that sort of stuff. They show a bit more composure and they show their consistency. Guy who's been really, really good, he hasn't had a lot of the ball, is Coxie. How good has Coxie been?
He's competing, bringing the ball to the ground, doing everything. I mean, some of his
tap work
has been fantastic.
And he's got really great presence of mind to sort of go, I won't go for a mark here, I will just try a basketball tap over my head and all that. And this is, you know, what we've always said, he's not a full forward. He's a really promising ruck. I know he's going to be, you know, a little bit older than most rucks who are developing, but he's been really, really good. And I think he's actually made Adelaide panic a bit, because when Collingwood's kicked to him, he's just created stuff that, you know, most people just contest and then it'll spill to the ground. Special mention to some shit decisions, which I won't go into, but, you know, a couple of throws there and blatant, you know, poorly disposed, you know, after tackles. It's just like, it's amazing that these happen right in front of umpires. And, you know, it goes back to what I always think, that there's some sort of mandate where they want the game to be moving. They don't want the game to be stopped. They want the game to be moving.
That's definitely the case.
You know, so, I mean, there was 2 throws. There was one rugby throw. Actually, there was 3 throws. There was one rugby throw. There was a sling. And then there was the volleyball serve.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah.
You know, it's like they're right in front of the umpires. And
right in front of me!
Yeah. This is the one thing, and it's not specific to this game. This is one thing I actually hate about the AFL, the product now. They've just stopped paying that. That should be paid 100% of the time. It was paid 0 times in all, you know, in those 3 examples. There's no reason they should not be paid. Anyway, thoughts for the second half?
More of the same, please, Woods. Consistency, I think, is going to be the key here. All that effort and skill that went into those first 2 quarters needs to manifest here, because I think they know better than anyone that what the end result's going to be if they take the foot off the pedal. Yeah, you're playing Adelaide at home. This is a bigger challenge, so more of the same.
Well, what I hope is Buckley is in there saying you got a 5-goal lead, don't protect the lead. Extend it.
Yeah, but it's...
Bury him, you know. Make it a 10-goal win. Don't just settle for like, oh, well, we'll just keep him here. Don't make it like a soccer game where, you know, we're 1 up and we'll just play keepings off and try and just choke you for the rest of the game.
No,
you
good point.
Are on top. You're well on top. They look panicked. They look flustered at times. They've tried to get in the game. There's been a few periods where they've been on top, but then Collingwood's wrestled it back from them and then reasserted their stranglehold. They are at your mercy. You have the opportunity here to actually extend this lead and bury it. So you go into the last quarter where, you know, you're 8 goals up and Adelaide just going, well, stuff it. They're not capitulating today like they capitulated last year. So, you know, keep this going. Bury them.
That's it. Come on, Woods.
Yep. So we'll be back after the game with more. Hope you enjoy what you're seeing, both from us and Collingwood, and hope we both keep it up. So see you after the game. Welcome back to the Collingwood Rant, where we are victorious with an almost, 58-point win.
Fucking good win, I think.
A fucking awesome win.
The term you were looking for.
Amazing win. Fantastic win on the road. Arguably the best win under Buckley's tenure.
Very consistent 4-quarter, good damn win.
And with their backs to the wall at one stage where it looked like the Crows had all the momentum. And they looked like they were coming back. And we could get a repeat of what happened last year where they came back from a 50-point deficit and they overhauled us. And for a little bit, that was a genuine threat in this game.
It was a mindset moment where, you know, you could have clearly capitulated thinking, well, it's happened again. The Crows could have just used that momentum to build on the fact that we've done this before. The fact that we shut it down was incredibly great.
I will backstep, and I know people will disagree with me, but fucking hell, that comeback was built on the back of some really poor umpiring decisions. That Walker 50-metre penalty against Dunn when they were sort of wrestling.
Jeez, that was harsh.
You know, I understand people will say, well, Dunn shouldn't get sucked in and all that, but, you know, they're two macho players just sort of
hanging off each other.
Yeah, you know, it's like, well, you can sort of say, all right, well, in a perfect world, Dunn shouldn't get sucked into it, but geez, you know, it's one of those things where you look at it and go, they're both giving it to each other, and maybe the umpire's only seen the end of it, but the umpire should actually probably look at it and go, well, you know what, I've seen the end of it, but I guess the start of it was them just going back and forth. I may swear a little here, a little bit of a profanity warning. That fucking free kick against fucking Murray is fucking ridiculous. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. This is one of the things I complain about in fucking today's game, the AFL, not just this game, but the fucking AFL in general. It's fine if you introduce rules and saying this is disallowed, but if you're saying this is disallowed, you need to then say the player, the offending player, has a viable, logical alternative. So if a player can't dive for the ball and tap it out, he's got to have a fucking viable, logical alternative to winning the ball or stopping the opposition winning the ball. If he fucking can't go for the ball with his head over it, you got to have a fucking viable, logical alternative. In that case, you're just saying Sam Murray's alternative was to stand back and do nothing.
It was just accidental contact. I mean, there's two blokes absolutely attacking the footy. At the very last minute, they've realised they're going to collide. You know, I think there's a duty of care to your opponent. There's also a duty of care to yourself. You know, Murray probably to a little bit turned to protect himself.
For a minute, the contact said he braced himself. Yeah, for the contact.
It should have been just pretty much, well, you know, that's it, done. But to get a free right in front for that, you're playing. Who's worse? Who's actually more guilty in that sort of instance? Well, it just doesn't make sense.
You're playing the game, and I'll play this to AFLW too. You're playing the game with athletes who are going at the ball full bore and making split-second decisions, and sometimes they're both going for the ball at the same time. So you know what? Sometimes shit's going to happen. And the umpire said it. He goes, it was accidental contact, but I'm still giving the free against you because it was accidental. No, you know what? Sometimes it's accidental contact, and that's the beginning and end of it. Sometimes shit just happens. And, you know, you could say, well, what if someone broke their jaw or was good? Well, again, it's a fucking accident. So, again, you got to look at what's the alternative? What's Murray's alternative there? Nothing.
But he has no later on in the game that
happened to Trelaw.
With Trelaw and
it wasn't paid.
Whoever it was. Yeah, same deal. Exactly the same deal. They're both hitting the ball at the same time. Accidental contact. Yeah, that's probably how it should have played out in the first instance. But it's the inconsistencies that actually probably grate on you more than anything.
Look, for me, it is if you can introduce rules, you protect the head. You can't dive for the ball, take out someone's legs, which happened to Cox, but it wasn't pinged. And this, you know, you can't go in for the ball and hit someone in the head. Okay, fine, if you can introduce these rules, but you know what? The offending player needs to have a viable alternative other than what you're saying is the only viable alternative is they can't go for the ball. Because once they go for the ball, that's why they're causing the offending incident. The only thing they can do then is not go for the ball, and that's not logical.
Or you just go prone and take the hit.
But yeah,
put yourself at risk.
But if you look at Murray was going for the ball. He had eyes on for the ball. So the guy was coming in, so he just braced himself. That's all he did. Whatever the sport, if it's a ball sport where you're contending the ball, whether it's football, soccer, American Badminton. Football, whatever. No, you know, one of a team sport. If the ball's out there, every player will have an instinct which will be ingrained and cultivated over years and years. Maybe if you're coxy, but cultivate over years. I need to win the ball. That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking I'm going to hurt someone, you know. And something like that for Murray to get that's just fucking. That was ridiculous. It really. And I'm a big believer in football. I've said this to you many times over the years when we watch Collingwood. I'm a big believer. You get one just bad incident that happens, and not talking about the Murray. I'm actually going back to the Dunn 50. I just think there's a massive butterfly effect. You get one bad incident, or one dumb incident, whatever. The opposition gets a bit of a rev up. The team in charge, or whatever, or the team sort of with who formerly had the momentum starts thinking, "Oh shit, that didn't work out for us. Let's not attack the ball as hard," and all that. And you get this massive flow-on effect, and that's what happened after that Dunn 50. Collingwood sort of became a little bit tentative, and then you had that Murray one right on the back of it, and they really, for about the next 6 or 7 minutes, they just sort of seemed to be, oh shit, what do we do, what do we do? And they really sort of seemed to lose their structure. You didn't see them have all that freedom. You didn't see them sort of zoning in the way where they're totally killing all of Adelaide's offensive as they had done for the whole game. And it really threatened to totally unravel to the extent that, you know, you really were just having flashbacks of last year.
We all thought it.
And I don't know if you're good enough, you'll win and all that. But, I still think you're talking about people. You look at someone like Rafael Nadal, who plays tennis, who's won, what is it, however many Grand Slams. He still places his bloody water bottles perfectly when he goes for a drink and all that.
I think that's OCD, though.
Yeah, but that's also it's an OCD thing. But this is what I'm talking about. Players still have superstitions. They still have rituals they believe are going to enhance their potential, their chances of success. No matter how good you are, you're still going to have those things because they are all contributing to why you should succeed. Anyway,
Look, I looked at it from a different perspective in terms of the football gods. I slaughtered a goat halfway at half time.
in the end, I just sort of think football's about momentum, and there's things that happen that push momentum one way or the other. And if you get a couple of things that happen, it gets in players' heads. And you don't have to get in a few players' heads. You don't have to get in the whole team because again, it's a flow-on effect. It's the wrong players in the wrong place, the wrong time. Then it doesn't work for you. Anyway, moving on from that. Really awesome win because we fucking settled after that. Stevenson, 5 goals.
Incredible. I mean, clear rising star nom coming his way this week.
So he won't get it. He won't get it. No, he's a Collingwood player.
But that was an amazing performance. I think it was up at 92% disposal efficiency.
Yep.
I think I read on the phone, which is incredible. Sidey too, was it 43?
Just to backstep to Stevenson. Stevenson had that chance to. Stevenson had that chance to. At one point he kicked. He bananaed a right footer, and I said to you, well, he's dual sided. He should have just snapped it on his left foot if he was going to do something a little bit fancy. But that 5th goal he kicked from the boundary, he actually did that. He snapped it on his left foot. But when you put on a little bit more bulk and all that, he looks like he'll be an amazing find.
There was one good thing that I loved about his game. There was one moment where he broke and just sprinted, and he looked like a jet. And up until this point, I hadn't seen him really fully run. And I think he came to us with the pretense of having a bit of speed. But when he put the jets on, geez, he looked really, really quick. And that's going to be an amazing, great asset for us moving forward. He's going to be a very exceptionally good player, I hope.
He reminds me a lot of...
Me?
Yes, when you played for Collingwood. But no, a lot of Dale Thomas, just in having that same sort of bravado to, take the game on, to take the responsibility and all that sort of stuff. You want those sort of players. You want those players to go, I'm not going to pass it off. I am going to do what's required.
It's early days and it's only 4 games, but at this point he's ahead of Daisy from his W.
Oh, I don't know. Daisy
was a flash. He had moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
The consistency was always his issue, but he built that over time.
Yeah. But Daisy's first game was amazing. He had that great mark. He kicked, I think, 2 goals against Adelaide. Coincidentally against Adelaide. But I mean, as I played Sidey, as you mentioned, 42 or 43 possessions.
I thought it was.
Yeah. Which, it just seemed... When you looked at,
he absolutely drifted through him because he just didn't look. He was all that influential, but he accumulated.
Yep,
and he tagged Sloan too for a period.
Probably BOG for me, Grundy.
Oh, incredible!
Just totally slaughtered Jacobs. It was really close. And the amount of times Grundy just sort of manhandled Jacobs in the ruck contest and took the ball and then turned around and snapped it just to get some meterage and all that sort of stuff. And then just around the ground, he just constantly provided second efforts and all that.
He finished with 33 possessions. I mean, possessions are always one of those really questionable stats, but still, that's 33 touches what you equate to a midfielder.
Yep.
Having a good game for a ruckman to do that, that's just incredible.
Well, you got to remember, Grundy...
You heard it here first.
Well, I was going to say, Jacobs was considered one of the premier ruckmen a few years ago, and he's probably played pretty much the best sort of game he'd play. Grundy played, this game where he was great in the ruck, but he was great around the ground. He kicked a goal. He kicked a beautiful running goal also.
That's a Grundy trademark, though. I think his effectiveness around the ground it's just not about the ruck.
Yep.
His ability to win the ball in ridiculous circumstances is incredible at times.
I thought it was Treloar's best game. Not easily the best game he's had this year, but I thought it was the best game he's had for a couple of years. Just was constantly in it, constantly creating some dash. Phillips had a really good first quarter. He sort of quieted down a bit, but he was still showed, somebody whose skills can be a little bit scrappy. Showed quite a bit of composure, some sure hands and all that. There's probably not a lot of players you could sort of point at and say you had a quiet one. Yeah, no. There was a lot of sort of guys who might have came in and out and in and out. Hoskinello was in and out. Varco was in and out. there's no one though. You sort of look at, he had a quiet game, and like we were talking about it during the game, and sort of just saying, geez, for Anzac Day, it'd be very, very hard to drop anybody. But again, you know, you have like a short turnaround, so that's probably going to happen regardless. But it was just a 4-quarter effort from pretty much every player we had.
Is this the first 4-quarter effort that you can recall under Bucks? I'm sure there's probably been one or two, but this is a standout. In the context of where we're going and this season, was an incredible win.
Yeah,
so I think that elevates that.
There's a few 4-quarter efforts I do recall on the Bucks. I mean, they were 4-quarter shit efforts, but they were 4-quarter efforts. But a fantastic win. You go to Adelaide on their own dung heap. They're up. They're meant to be sort of up, and you know we've got to redeem ourselves after the grand final loss. They just beat the Premiers. Was it last week or the week before? And we seriously bullied them and outclassed them.
We made them look slow,
and we made them look, you know, scrappy. Now, query is, can we keep doing this?
That's
but
the thing.
We'll look at that a bit later. Any final thoughts about Collingwood, Adelaide, other than Channel 7? Who did you get to play Cameron Ling today? Because, I don't know, that guy sort of favoured Collingwood quite a bit.
He was pro-Collingwood.
Was it Eric Stoltz? Well, Eric Stoltz maybe playing him?
I just think...
Ron Howard. He was wearing like a mask.
Defence was great today. I wouldn't mind giving a special shout-out to the Berg a little bit. But Langdon, I think some of his intercept marking, as we commented during the game, was just incredible.
I'll comment for the whole season.
He's looking exceptionally good. I'm happy with him.
Well, it's actually probably the first... This is actually probably the first time under Buckley since the Malthouse side he inherited. You know, with Shaw and Toohey and O'Brien and Maxwell and all that. It's probably the first time where I sort of looked at him for... That's probably the only real back six that we've ever knitted, where you get Dunn and Howe and Berg and Langdon, you know, and you get like some sort of... You look at him and go, well, that's sort of the players we probably want in there for the whole year. You know, under Buckley, we had a lot of injuries in that back six, so it's constantly rotated. You haven't had any continuity in it. I don't think Malthouse even said it back in 2008 or something. You know, it's about actually knitting some continuity and reliability in those players. So, you know, they can rely on somebody to come to the defence and all that sort of stuff. Buckley's had really bad luck with injuries to players where, you know, he's trying to build something, or, you know, let's just sort of say like this, Buckley trying to build something especially, but any team would be trying to build a back six, and we get a lot of injuries to that.
No, and I think on top of that, then we talked about it a little bit in last week's rant. Or my biggest fears going into this game was Jenkins and Walker. You know, you threw bets in there. All three of them absolutely ineffectual. What did Jenkins finish with? About 5 touches for the game?
Was he there?
Oh, no idea. Well, Betts did his hamstring, just admiring Langdon, I think. For the rest of them, though, Walker kicked 2, I think, but Jesus, I think they were on the back of frees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Betts one, Betts have struggled this year, but Jenkins has had some really good games, and they really sort of nullified him. Walker's a really good player, so to nullify him also, no, it's fantastic.
I'd start to see where Darcy Moore fits into this back line, to be honest.
All fours.
That's it. He's going to have to do a bit of hard work in the VFL to get back into this side.
No, but that's actually a legitimate query. If you actually get more back, how do you fit him into that? Don't worry about where you're going to play him at the moment, but how do you fit him into that side? Because you look at it now, this is working really well. He's getting sort of mids rotating through full forward. Coxie only got 6 possessions, but he was really good in just bringing the ball around, tapping at the teammates and all that sort of stuff.
Stupendously effective.
Yeah, you know, and he as I said earlier, he panicked Adelaide guys when they kicked it towards him.
Yeah, he had 2 on him at every given time.
And there's a lot of times where, like, you know, he went up against 2 players and you're massively out of position, and you sort of like get sort of like a backhand tap over his head or something, and it's just magnificent to watch.
Yep.
Now, how do you play more in that side?
He has to feed off him. I think Cox is just central to everything now.
Oh, well,
it's like
Coxie!
The whole team just revolves around him now.
No, it's actually an interesting dilemma, because you play him down back and you suddenly become too tall. You play him up forward, you become too tall. You have a gun ruckman, so where do you play him? And they need to work that out. You know, they might end up playing him on the wing or something like that. But they got a really good balance. And I was saying to you all earlier, 2 years ago, before we had that really good preseason where we won all our preseason games, but they were getting guys like Fasolo and that to lead out a full forward. They weren't really relying on talls. So they were trying to get a mobile forward line happening. I don't know what really happened there. But they've gone back to that. And the really good thing is, last week was Josh Thomas who kicked 5, Stevenson kicked 5 this week. And you're creating a bit of unpredictability there where Essendon now will be doing homework and going, well, who are they going to throw up next week? But that guy might even be the focus. They might, get someone else trying to chime in. And today it was 10 goal kickers, or tonight it was 10 goal kickers. So they're getting a really good spread.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can keep... And I'm not trying to say this disrespectfully, if John Worsfold at Essendon is sitting there going, well, how do I keep Josh Thomas and Jaden Stevenson quiet? You seriously think, well, we're halfway already there to a victory, because these aren't guys you'd naturally attribute to being big goal kickers. So you've created a really good working spread. Now, if you can keep that going, I don't know. But if you put more in there, that immediately makes him the focus, and that sort of changes it around, and you lose that dynamic. And it's a bit like if you go way, way, way back to St Kilda when they had Tony Lockett there. They got to the point where, like, every time they went forward, it was to Tony Lockett. And opposition just, well, and it's players don't even realise they're doing. It's like, oh, there's Lockett, I'll kick. So it becomes a case of, well, sometimes you can throw someone in there to the detriment of your team, or they might be a really good player, a really good prospect.
Like Treloar said in that interview post-match, where he was talking about, look, we try and drop the eyes and kick low and hard, which obviously we didn't see a lot of up until the last couple of weeks. But his madness behind the method was that we do that predominantly, but if Cox is there, we look to him to kick tall too, and it's what he's going to bring when he brings it to the ground is what we're also looking at as well. So it is options. I mean, you're just bombing it to the top of everyone's head is folly, but you can make sense out of that statement about where, if someone smaller is presenting, you kick to them. If someone isn't presenting and you've got a tall marking target, that's where you're going to go to. Well, who can then probably bring it to the ground to your advantage.
That's partly what we said last week too. Is just like, it shouldn't be so predictable. You should be able to innovate moving forward and all that. And we really did that tonight. There were a number of goals that you just looked at and thought, well, I can't see how they're able to defend it for that, because there's no way you can plan for that sort of improvisation on the game. But then again, I mean, some of the goals, and I remember turning around to you and saying first quarter, but I was afraid to say it after that, where Varco did that loopy kick over the top to Reed, but it was just a little bit long, and it took this massive leg break, and then they just dribbled through for a goal, and it was all from 50. I was just sort of thinking, you're going to win when you're just pulling crap off like that.
Footy gods stuff. They're smiling on you when that happens.
Anyway, final thoughts on the win other than go Pies?
It was good. A very, very, very good win. In the context of our season and where it had to go to, this was probably an unexpected win, I think. The majority of people probably would have tipped against us. We probably stupidly thought we'd lose. But in the context of the season, that's exactly the right win at the right time that you can actually build upon and probably launch from here.
Well,
2-2.
2-2, which is amazing. I think a lot of people might have had us at about 1-3 at this stage.
And a lot more.
Yeah, but Chiefs like that. But I actually look at it too also where Buckley should be pulling him in now and going, do you enjoy this feeling?
What, the Chief?
No, don't pull a Chief in, he's a curse. But just pull the players and go, do you enjoy this feeling? Well, yes. This is where you want to stay. It's a lot of hard work, but how much do you fucking love it afterward? And how much do you hate losing? There's a really good bit, I think it was when Walker kicked one of his goals where bloody Howe contested the ball but slipped, and I think it was Walker, but he ran off. And he kicked the goal from about 40 on the run. But when they re-showed it, bloody, you saw Howe on the ground, and when you realise he just fallen out of the contest, he hit the ground in fury. And it's like, that's what losing is. Losing is frustration and resignation and feeling shit. Which one would you prefer? Because after 4 years of shit, I know which one I would prefer.
I prefer this one.
Collingwoods! Yep. Nathan, if you're watching, get us back to grand finals where we belong so we can start losing those.
Just not the losing stuff.
I think that's part of Collingwood. But hopefully we can transcend that. Last words about the win?
Well, I think we've covered that 14 times. How about medium mephitic? Because I'm pretty keen to get into this one.
If you don't cut to a break or something, we have a commercial.
Commercial time.
Worst commercial ever. So, welcome to medium mephitic. And we've got like a really big medium mephitic. I was actually a little bit concerned with the short turnaround after games.
I keep feeding you.
Oh, they just would not stop.
Just like throwing breadcrumbs out there. Take this one.
I'll start with Ben Crocker. Interview about his father who suffers Alzheimer's.
Yep.
At a relatively young age for Alzheimer's, like 50.
Early 50s, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yep. And I actually found, what I found interesting about this is, we push it on players who aren't performing, or we criticise them, we condemn them, particularly you and the Chief. But you never know what's going on in anyone's life. It's like for Solo, people criticise him for not chasing, whatever, and you realise, you learn he's got depression. You don't know what's going on in these people's lives. It's amazing for, Crocker to be where he's at in his career with all this stuff going on in the background. So well done, Ben. Hopefully you keep going with this. As painful as it must be when you have that sort of double-edged thing of, geez, because anyone wants to make their parents proud, and you think you got this really horrible situation where your father doesn't actually understand your accomplishments and all that.
It would be terrible.
But well done, Ben. Peter Ryan in The Age. Might have went a little bit prematurely, Peter. Writes about Sidey's emergence as a midfielder last week. God, where does he get this stuff?
What about his emergence as a tagger?
Yeah.
You weren't thinking then, were you, Pete?
So, Peter Ryan talked about Sidey's emergence from the shadow of previous midfielders at Collingwood, and how he's such a laid-back character. He's a generally very happy and jovial person.
Smiles a lot.
He smiles a lot.
Smile bottom.
Even when he's driving Zach Fisher into the turn.
You got to be pleased with your efforts, I think. That's the key.
Yeah. But, a couple of weeks ago, when we put the question...
Wrote him off?
Who, Peter Ryan? Yes, he's out. When we talked about whether Sidey should be a midfielder or a forward, I said he should be a forward, but if you're producing games like tonight, you should probably be a midfielder with that sort of effectiveness. And again, you get that multifaceted midfield where you get like Pendles, and Pendles had a really good game tonight too. Neglected to mention him, like people have started saying, well, maybe he's a bit too old, maybe he's finished.
There's a few egg on face moments coming up.
Yeah, but he had a really good game, and Sidebottom had a really good game too. So great article, just and again vindicates Buckley, who said the only thing keeping Sidebottom from becoming elite is Sidebottom. Sam Murray backed Buckley, because Murray just sort of said, well, he believed in me, he brought me across. Murray won the NAB Rising Star last week. It's interesting too, because a lot of people criticise Buckley as a coach, but geez, you don't get any criticism from the players or from any of the current players. Maybe you get them from some of the past players and past coaches, but the incumbent players, they all appear to love him. They appear to love the culture of it, they're building, and what they're aspiring to. Any thoughts about Murray instead of just nodding? No?
I love Muzzer. I mean, tonight he was a little bit subdued, which often happens after the puff pieces in the paper. I don't think he had a really good second half after that collision. So
the good thing with Murray, he wasn't as influential in previous games, but he was still in there. He was still trying. And I actually thought the really good thing about Murray, there's a few times he was caught in really tight congestion, and if he was just an idiot that was just going to run all the time, he would have just ran and got caught. But he sort of said, no way I'm going to get out of this, and he went for a handball. It was like a smart handball,
Geez, some of his handballs are just bullet passes.
Incredible. Yep.
It's just you're a little bit godsmacked with him that he just stayed in whatever it is that they do in New South Wales as a secondary level sport. But he's just looking fantastic.
But that's what I see. A lot of players get sort of credit for a certain part of their game. And it's like, great, that's fantastic when that's working. If that's not working, what else do you have to fall back on? And Murray did that. He didn't get a lot of his sprints today, but he showed some poise in traffic, which was really good. And it also shows he has the decision making to go, I'm not going to go now. I'll just dish off now.
Yeah.
But I've got a bit of space, I'll run through. Travis Cloak was on whatever show, what was it? Media Mephitic?
Yeah. Some new show on Foxtel, On the Mark or something like that.
And he was going to blow the lid on what, Collingwood. And you asked the difference about Mick Malthouse and Nathan Buckley. He said Malthouse is more about the players seizing a moment, which is really interesting because I remember in 2000 I went to watch Collingwood train. He
did talk about that he was loosely structured, but there were moments when he said that with the opportunities there, forget the structure, go with your instincts, which was that encouraging the...
And that was the thing, like I remember in 2000 going to watch Collingwood train, I just remember listening to Malthouse talk, and he said it's about initiative, about knowing when to take initiative. Like, you know, I heard him actually tell the players that. He said, where Bucks is mainly about structure. Also said Bucks is the smartest guy. He knows about how football works. But when I say is, you know, maybe the players don't get it. And I actually said this to you the other week ago because I'd heard something about Buckley being one of the smartest guys around. But how did that but he wasn't a great communicator and man manager.
Quite did qualify that by saying that, that
face.
footballers aren't the smartest blokes going around.
Oh,
and neither are people that do football shows on YouTube.
You've only got like 400 players now angry at. I actually think that's interesting about Buckley because we've said that in the past. I'm not trying to vindicate us, but we said about Buckley, you know, if it's not working, you need to change it. So it's not about sort of like keep trying to push something until it works. Sometimes you just need to say it's not going to work. And Buckley, you know, when he was commentating 209, that 1 year out of football, people said he was brilliant. He was a student and all that. But again, it's how do you communicate that knowledge?
That's the thing.
Because that's one of the biggest things about any form of coaching position, whether it's football, sport, business, whatever the case is you might have all the knowledge in there, but do you actually communicate it to the people out there?
If the message is lost, then that's it.
And one of the things I was just going to sort of throw a little bit to one side, I actually recall Buckley saying some years ago, it's not about me motivating the players. The players, they're at the top level. They should know how to motivate themselves, which I strictly disagree with. Because, you know, if I have a list of 22 players for a game, you know, that guy might be okay. They might be self-motivated. That guy might have had a really shit week. He might have had a fight with his girlfriend. That guy might have issues with family. They might need some private words to sort of pep them back up. You know, you don't know what's going on. Again, it goes back to like with Croc. You don't know what's going on with someone's life. So sometimes you might need just to sort of step in and cultivate them and nurture them, which is what Malthouse is really good at. And Malthouse, one of the first things he said when he stepped in, actually the first thing he said when he stepped into the Collingwood in 1999, he told the players, I will not treat you all the same.
What the fuck is this?
He goes, I will not treat you all the same. And that's everyone's different. Everyone responds differently. Mick Malthouse, in an interview, queried why Collingwood needed a rebuild. Said you know, built a list on trust, and you know, didn't really understand why Nathan Buckley took the course that he did.
This is the sort of thing that you can argue an infinitum, and obviously Malthouse is going to bring this up on a yearly basis, which is, you know, this is nearly 10 years ago now. Look, he has valid points. I agree with a lot of his points. But the thing is, let's move on. Let it go.
Well, that's the big problem for me, is you could have kept Malthouse. They might have won another 2 flags or whatever, maybe. You might have kept Malthouse, and they might have just fizzled into obscurity. That's the problem that's always existed because of the succession plan. There is no closure. If you had closure, you'd have been fine. If, you know, people say, if Malthouse stayed, would have been great, would have won another flag or 2. If Malthouse had left... I
would have taken that.
Yeah. But if Malthouse had left, but actually blessed and said, no, I'm done, Nathan's your coach, you probably would have had that closure and they would have moved on. They probably would have had a better result in the next few years. You know, Dane Swan said in his book, a lot of players didn't play for Buckley, but it had nothing to do with Buckley. They just were going to play for anyone after Malthouse. So, I mean, I think that goes like several ways. You know, those guys, if you look at it now, if you look back, those guys like Dawes and Lumumba, Daisy Thomas and all that, and Willingham, who they traded out, they didn't really play that well after they left Collingwood. He did. He was probably the one exception. But, you know, if they all stayed at Collingwood, they might have all played a lot better for Mick. But again, you don't know. Again, it goes back to that closure. We don't know. But, as you said, it's almost 10 years on. Leave it the fuck alone, Mick, please. Just move on.
It's not you. Just remember, only Collingwood can kill Collingwood.
Just go fetch the footballs out of the gutter from now on, you know. Oh, that wasn't you, was it? Wayne Carey says he can see where the Pies are going. Last. Oh, sorry. It says at last.
Geez, I think this article would have been a hell of a lot funnier if we lost tonight. But unfortunately, it sort of a little bit reinforces the outcome tonight, what he was saying. But it's a farcical article. I mean, these are the people that will knife you one week and praise you the next, all based on a individual winning moment. I think that was a gross overestimation piece, but unfortunately he paraphrased himself enough tonight to make it look like a
genius,
an absolute masterpiece of literature.
Look, I mean, I'm asked, if you're watching, Wayne, because I know you'd watch us, we said this at the start of the year in our preview. Buckley has a game plan. I mean, they said it after the game. Well, we see a bit of the Buckley game plan. Buckley's had a game plan for the last 4 years, and you've seen it in snippets. It's just been sustaining it. And, you know, like they talk about like last week, or we saw it against Carlton. You know, there was a game a couple of years ago where we were 6 goals down against North when we kicked 9 goals in the third quarter. And it's like, well, it was there also. There's several games against Geelong because we've done well against Geelong. It was there also. There's been a number of games over the last 4 years where we've played exceptionally well and very similar to tonight and last week. But the problem has always been the sustainability of that, of backing it up week in, week out. It's always been there. I'm not sure why last week the decision was, oh, hang on, we can see what you're trying to do now.
Because they won.
Oh, but you know, they've won before and then they've sort of dropped off. And like you get back a few years ago, there's a few journalists who were sort of tipping them to make top 4s and finals and all that because they were seeing that, but it just wasn't translating consistently over the year. This article to me, it just astounded me that you beat Carlton, who's in this massively low development stage. We could have gotten, you know, 16 other guys and us to play him and probably given them a good, good showing.
We would have got 3 votes.
Well, I would have got 3, but look, you know, I'm not trying to bag Carlton, but they're shit at the moment. They are.
You can bag them.
Yeah, you know, they're struggling. So,
and long may that last.
Yeah, well, forever may it last. But it's like, well, that's probably not the measuring stick. Tonight would have been a good measuring stick. To say, well, they've won it. But again, the onus
he did have to get out calls in that article about saying that he'd do it against the top side. So he's been vindicated tonight.
But that's what we said in the preview. The onus is what happens next week. Okay? Don't care about, I'm happy we won. But, I mean, burn the last 4 years that we've won, and then what followed is a loss or a shit performance. What happens next week, and the week after, and the week after? And that might sound unfair, but I'm sorry, last 4 years, that's the equation that's produced. Yeah. You need to keep backing it up.
Consistency is going to be the key.
And, you're not going to be vindicated until you actually make the finals. And people can say, oh, they finally did. They finally arrived.
Now I can see what he's been trying to do.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you make the finals, you finish 7th or 8th or whatever, it's probably still going to fall back. When they have to do it back to back. And people go, well, that's really unfair because you're just constantly lifting the bar. But, that's that's the modern game for one. Where you get pressure on people like Beveridge and all that who've won the flag, and Clarkson had pressure on him after he's won 3 flags and all that. Why wouldn't the pressure be triply on Buckley, who's produced 4 mediocre years? Well, anyway. The really interesting one, Richmond on 90,000 members. Collingwood allegedly on 65,000 members.
Undisclosed numbers.
Undisclosed numbers. Apparently Collingwood is still counting the numbers, but I can't imagine it's going to be another 25,000.
I think they're really hedging their bets that things are going to turn around quickly, and people will start diving into their pockets. I'm not sure what the cut-off is for membership figures. It's generally about halfway
in Collingwood.
Through the season.
I think they're cutting off the 2017 memberships in 2019.
The fact that they've gone quiet, I think, is an indication about what the masses are currently thinking. Now we win the next 5 games, but then it becomes irrelevant. I think that's what they're hedging their bet on.
Yeah. Well, look, sport of any kind, the simple reality: win equals fans. And fans will come when you're winning. As Richmond's proven, they don't have 90,000 members because they've been a solid team. They've got 90,000 members because they've just won a flag.
50,000 bandwagons.
Yeah, but that's what...
That's what happens.
Yeah, in sport you'll have your core fans who will always come. You'll have those sort of... You'll have those in-betweeners who will sort of drift in and out of games. And then you'll have the total bandwagoners who just suddenly jump on once they're successful.
And where's the chief?
The chief, yeah. Colin, you've been successful for 4 years. I understand why the numbers might still be up thereabouts to what they were in your better years because, I've been an AFL member for 20 years. If I abandon that membership, I suddenly go to the back of the queue. It's not worth it. Just better off, to pay that membership and get access to finals and grand finals and shit like that. I don't know what the Collingwood memberships are structured like. They were never very attractive, and not bagging on Collingwood, all the club memberships are not really that attractive when you compare them to the AFL full memberships, the gold memberships.
But this is the membership drive.
Yep. Yeah. So, but the thing is, if you're not winning, so I'm just saying I'm sustaining my membership or retaining my membership because there's no point in getting rid of it. So you can always have that level of membership. People must be dropping off though because we're not getting fans to games.
Oh, it's clearly we're down.
You know, that GWS game, what was it, like 28 or 29,000 or something? You know, that's not what you'd typically expect from a Collingwood game. Anzac Day is going to be a little bit different because
it's a corporate event mainly these days. And
in the Richmond game, you know, it's probably
going to be interesting. There'll be 70,000 there, you think?
It's a really shit time for the game too. It's like the twilight game, I think, on Sunday.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I think it's something bizarre like that. But you know, the reality is you win, you bring fans in, you bring more fans in. You lose, fans drop off, and you know that might seem unfair, and people might say you should support your team no matter what. No,
cobblers.
No, you probably have a level of goodwill where you will support your football team no matter what. But after a period, you'll start going, "What's this about?" You know, I could go fucking do something like mow the lawn or something for 2 hours, which would be more productive than watching the same shit again. And I'm sort of applying this to every team and their members. You know, Carlton fans are now asking this. They're saying, why should we watch this shit? My Carlton friend bloody left a message at the club saying, I'm fucking giving up. And the president actually rang up and said, well, tell me about your issues, which was really nice. But this is a couple of years ago. But just sort of saying, you actually look at a club fan relationship, it's not one-sided. The club needs to give the fans something.
You throw a fair bit of money at them each year. You want something in return, and not just $4 worth of merchandise. And
let's talk about the merchandise: a lanyard, a fridge magnet with the fixture on it, which you'd need a microscope to read the actual text.
Oh look, we're playing something at a macroscopic level.
That's it, isn't it? That's all you get.
Yep.
You used to get a cap and shit.
And pain.
Yeah, we used to get a cap and shit. I remember in 2006 you got like these pictures of the players and all that sort of stuff. You got all this really great stuff. But apparently, you know, fans aren't worth this anymore because somewhere along the line, someone's made a decision, they're coming regardless. But you know what? They're not anymore. So, repay the fans.
Wake up to yourself.
Keep winning.
That's it.
Any last thoughts on media mephitic?
No, I think we should probably launch into the upcoming rounds.
Yep, so 12 days. We're playing Essendon, traditional Anzac Day. What is it, 23rd Anzac Day, 24th Anzac Day game?
There's something like that, yeah.
Yep, Stade 95. It's very hard to sort of predict it this far out because we don't know what Essendon would have done.
I think we're on top of the world. We'll win by about 100 goals.
I can't see us losing at all. It'd be very ironic to have Coxie out there too.
First goal, was it last year or the year before? It was last year, wasn't it?
It was a couple of years ago when Essendon were playing their under-14 side.
Yeah. Well, we lost last year, didn't we?
We got
pounced.
Yep, we got pounced. But this year, you know, Essendon had like the big raves on them pre-season. They haven't delivered.
No, strike while the iron is hot.
And, you know, you got to keep everything in context. They beat Adelaide at Etihad. With just. We don't know how good a win that was. You know, people might say they'll come back against the Dogs until Denner's handball hall, but, you know, well, they're down by...
That's it. They're down for most of the game.
Yeah. So, they aren't looking great at the moment. They aren't looking like they're producing...
Don't make them look fucking great. Yep. Collingwood, I'm looking at you.
Now, I think last year, from memory, like it was one of those games that could have been closer if we actually kicked straighter, and we didn't. You
could narrow that down to how many 100 games?
I just want to look. Look seriously. It goes back to I really don't even give a shit who we play next. It goes back to what we said before. You're 2-2 now. You've got one really good win behind you, and you beat Carlton also. You got to just keep doing it.
Momentum.
Essendon's not a great side. Yep, Essendon is not a great side.
Make them realise that.
Yep, and you have a side now that you're looking at like Collingwood. Like I don't know what the ins and outs are. I imagine for Solo would be in the equation.
Or Adams.
Adams, I think, will come in too. But it's actually good to be looking and going, well, geez, who do we drop? The goalie was really good first game back. He has a nice big break.
Massive raps for that boy.
The goalie, like Stevenson, you look at him going, well, okay, we spent an early pick, and we're actually seeing why they were chosen at that selection. We actually, we have a side to rival Essendon. Essendon's not a great team. There's, if they're ever going to be a good team, I don't think they're ever going to be like a brilliant team. They might get some run on all that sort of shit, but they're not a side where we should be walking in and fearing them. They are, and we've probably beaten them in more Anzac Day games in the last 5-6 years than they've beaten us.
Oh, they've been shit for a while.
Yeah, who's the big theory? Big theory is probably Joe Danaher. You'd have to kick 8 to really be a concern.
You have to kick straight to kick 8.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. And probably Essendon troubles us more with the small forwards like Fantasia and Tip and Woody. And Green and all that sort of, those sort of guys. We seem to struggle against smaller forwards. But, who are they going to match up against? Coxie. They'll have to play 2 players.
Steph.
But that's a good thing. Again, if Buckley plays that unpredictable forward line,
which I think he will.
Well, I don't think he has any choice unless he brings Moore back and just goes, let's just bomb it.
Moore's not coming back.
Ever?
Well, no, I think they talked about it being a 4-week hamstring, so I think they'll run him through to the other side of Anzac Day. So I don't think he's going to be in contention this week.
Well, the interesting thing too...
Or next week, rather.
But the interesting thing is they're going to play Richmond 5 days later.
That's an interesting dynamic, because you're going to have to tactically... You obviously approach this thinking, well, I want to win both games. Who's the best ones to rest? Who's the best ones to bring in that you can rest maybe the following week, and who can come in over the top of them? That's going to be an interesting challenge. What would you rather win, the Anzac Day game or the Richmond game?
You got to win both. You have to win both.
I mean, it's a moot point, but still, it almost come down to that. I don't think you can win both. I don't think we're good enough at this stage to win both.
Yeah, it probably depends more on the sort of opposition both opponents bring. If like Essendon comes and they're just totally terrible that day, and you can sort of cruise through it and go, okay, you know what?
Well, that's a different ball game.
Yeah.
What's the break for Richmond? They've got to obviously.
They'll have the week. They'll probably have the week or something.
It's going to be a massive advantage. You're going to be up against it simply because of the 5-day break in between.
And that's the bad thing. I mean, if they had like no disrespect intended, but if they had a shit team following the Anzac Day game, they probably could have, said, well, you know what, this is one where we can rest the Sidey and the Pendles and these sort of guys who can bring in a few younger players and we'll do okay. Unfortunately, they have Richmond. Richmond Premier, they showed, although they lost to Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, we beat Adelaide. But although they showed, although they lost to Adelaide, they showed last week and they beat Hawthorn. So they're good enough to, they're good enough that you think they're going to be top 4 again. So how do we back up 2 games in, 5 days?
That's going to be a big ask.
And there's going to be guys who are going to pull up. So I can't imagine someone like Reid will play both games. I think Schoenberg will probably be rested. There's probably a number of guys who either are coming from injury-laden histories or just, like Callum Brown doesn't have a lot of experience in the leagues and all that sort of stuff, who are just going to be rested because they need that break. They need like a week break. So, I mean, that's going to be the issue. The good thing is you do have, Fasalo in the reserves. You'd hope that Elliott might be back by then.
Wells plays his first VFL game this week. That would be... You can't bank on it, but it would be a handy inclusion at some point in one of the games.
Look, I would not even play Wells anymore. I'm serious, because it's just...
Jeez, I would. We looked so much better when he was there last year.
Yeah, but how long does he last?
Doesn't matter. I think you can have him drift in and out of 2 or 3 games and make an impact.
No, but
I'd take him.
But if he lasts like 1 quarter and then goes and you're now 1 short on the bench, how long does he last in the game? And that's pretty much what he does nowadays.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but still, I'd roll the dice.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd bother anymore because, look, Wells is a great player, but the thing is just me, you look at, he played a reserves game about 3 weeks ago. He played half a game and then he was dragged off. And then when the club was asked about it, go, oh no, he's just part of the management, part of the load.
I think he had to return a library penalty.
Yeah, and then he didn't play for 3 weeks. I know why you've got the guy, and Buckley said we're trying to make him more robust, so his body stands up to it. But he is an older player, and this is not specific to Wells, but older players do break down regularly.
He's such an ageist person.
Yeah, but it's Buckley's own career was like that. He was. until he was about 30, he was, he just played week in, week out. He ran 12 kilometres a game. And then in 2007, his body just said, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what Buckley did, he kept breaking down. He came back for about 3 weeks and then he broke down again. Wells is a few years older than that. The reality might be his body is just no longer capable of sustainable AFL football. Yep. And I honestly, with someone like Wells, I would play him for a month in the VFL. And if he breaks down the VFL and that just says, you know what, that's it, your body is no longer up to it, we'll carry you on the list. We're not going to rely on you because we can't afford to be in a game where we're going to be one player down at some point and then they have to juggle. Because the other thing you need to look at is you'll get games where he'll break down, but you might get another injury and then suddenly you're 2 players down. I know people are going, well, why are you playing for the worst? It's like, because it's Collingwood. You need to prepare for the very worst case scenario. Why load the dice by bringing in guys with very, very suspect bodies? And don't forget, you got guys like, sounds really negative, you guys like Ben Reid in there. He's also another suspect body. How many of these players do you want in your side who might just suddenly break down? Darcy Moore, again, sporadic hamstring injuries. You don't want your team loaded up with these players unless you can prove substantially that, you know what, they're not going to break down. So Wells, seriously, he'd be just playing in the reserves until, I don't know, May, June for me. No. And if you can play all that, then I go, oh, let's give him a shot.
I'll take a chance.
He's not young enough for me to just go, you know what, let's roll the dice. I'd rather than just, they roll the dice on Rupert Wills or, Brandon Sire, anyone. And I know they don't have the skills of Wells, but it's also about building for the future. Wells is 41 years of age.
Is he that young?
Yeah. So where do you expect him to go? It's not a Rocky movie. You just can't keep coming back. So your thoughts about Essendon? Do you think he'll win?
Geez, on our current form, I think we're a better than average chance. It'd be interesting to see who's Essendon got this week. Do you know? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I don't really care about the others.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see how they go. Hopefully it's a really bruising encounter. Their form's been pretty ordinary. I think we can get them. Richmond, I'm not so convinced with, but I think we can get Essendon, and to lose to the Tigers, that'd put us 3-3. You'd almost be happy. The
thing that interests me with Essendon is the 12-day break. I hope we don't just sort of have a really slow start because we've been off. I think we should beat Essendon. I don't think they're great. They're not proving themselves great at the moment. We've matched up well recently. Richmond 4 days, 5 days later, that's a concern. But Essendon, I think we should win. And you'd really hope by the end of, after the Richmond round, we'll be 3-3 at the very least. To wish them the best, but should beat Essendon.
It's up to you, Woods.
Yep. Well, any final thoughts on those 2 rounds?
No, we should point out that we won't be doing this post the Anzac Day.
I was going to wrap that up.
Game. We will be taking an amalgam of Essendon and Richmond. So
yep. All right, so that's it for the preview. We had a question of the week last week, which was, where does Darcy Moore play?
Well, we've already done that one.
Where was Buckley? No, sorry, where was Buckley?
At the mid-year break.
Yeah, to be safe.
Not your mid-year, it was around...
The bye.
It was about round 12, I think it was. A few people have responded to us and said 6-6. Would be a pass mark in terms of being comfortable. I think we should just win everything from here on in. But I'm thinking 6-6 is probably, even though it's fence sitting in terms of having it each way, I think probably realistically that would be about it.
I mean, when we posed the question, 6-6 was fine. When you see the way they play tonight, they should be at the very least 7-5, and they should be aiming for 8-4. And maybe that's me being optimistic, but again, what they did tonight, that is the standard you should be hitting every week.
The thing is, you haven't seen it often enough to say convincingly that that's going to be the case.
Oh no, I agree with that. But
I think fin setting is probably about the balance that you're looking for at this stage. But
you're looking at what's the pass mark for Buckley. What do you accept for Buckley? And for me, that is 7-5 or 8-4. I don't want to just be middling yet again. We've done that. We've done that for 4 years.
Oh, geez, I tell you though, 6-6 is better than say 3-9 or something like that. So,
but again, it's about what's acceptable for Buckley.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think we had a really rough opening. 7 rounds, I think it was. then we start moving into probably more winnable territory. So even if you're at that pass mark of 6-6, you can still build on that, I think is the thing, because the draw is reasonably favourable to us in the bulk of the year. So as a launching platform, if you're halfway there, maybe not too bad. Look, I'd rather be obviously a little bit higher, but I'd still probably think that 50-50 mark would be enough at this stage.
Oh, I'm the other way. So I think 7-5 as a pass mark. I'm not sort of talking about like hose. I'm talking as a pass mark. He needs to be above 50-50. I know we have like a tough 7 rounds or whatever it is, but if you're going to be aiming at finals, that's what you're going to be aiming at, tough matches. So we're not looking to play finals because we beat all the shit teams beneath us and we just dropped in. We're looking to play finals and actually do something there possibly, and just look toward the future and go, we might play, we might do something the following year or whatever. 7-5 for me, at the very least, the pass mark. You should be aiming at 8-4. And again, it's something like aim high. If you drop just short, will still be somewhere good. If you're aiming at like 50-50, it just sort of the meter says you're aiming for mediocrity. Aim higher. And that's where it should be at the club.
Yeah, very cool. What's
your question for next week?
I haven't got one.
Well, that's really good. My question is, can you fit more Coxie, Grundy and Reedy in the same team? Can you fit them all in the same team? And that's including Dunn and Howe, obviously.
Is that like in the bus or on the plane?
Oh, just in the dressing rooms. Or on the field at the same time. Can you fit them all in the same team? Or are we just going to become top heavy with guys who, they might be very quick for their size, but actually leaves us lacking foot speed? So as Spook said, that's the question to go with. As Spook said, we are not going to be having an episode after the Essendon game. We'll do a double episode of wrapping up the Essendon game and the Richmond game, and we may have a very, very, very special guest.
One that's well known to all of you, hopefully.
Hopefully. Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
And go Pies!
See you later.